I can already feel people coming for me for this. Hi friends, welcome back, or just welcome if you're new. My name is Emily, and today I'm going to be doing the unpopular book opinions tag. First of all, I do just want to apologize for not uploading for the past 2 weeks. I promise I didn't forget about you guys, and I just had to take a little break, but I am back for October and I am super excited. One more quick thing before we get started, I want to mention NaNoWriMo really quickly. So NaNoWriMo is coming up, which is National Novel Writing Month for those of you who don't know, but considering that you're on BookTube, you probably know a little bit about Nano already. This month is Preptober, since it's October, and I'm going to be participating in that in preparation for my project, which right now is tentatively called A Treacherous Sea. So A Treacherous Sea is kind of a rewrite of last year's Nano project, but with like a different world and different plot elements and a few different characters. I guess basically what I'm trying to say is that A Treacherous Sea is basically a completely different thing, just with a few of the same characters and a general aesthetic. I am so excited to write A Treacherous Sea. I have been thinking about it like nonstop for months, and I'm really excited to sit down and get this project out onto paper. And I'm also going to be doing some nano vlogs over the month of November to kind of document my writing process and kind of take you guys along on that journey, so keep an eye out for those videos. I am also curious to know if any of you guys are doing nano this year, because if you are, I would love to hear about your projects. That always makes me super excited to talk about work in progress with other authors, and also maybe we can be like accountability buddies or writing buddies for this year's nano. So just let me know in the comments. I would love to chat with you. Happy spooky season, by the way, from me and my little Yorick skull from up here when I did theater in high school. I never really got into Halloween when I was little, but of course now that I'm an adult, it's the perfect time to get into it. My roommates and I have decorated our apartment a little bit so far. We have a host of like these paper bats that are on a wall in our living room, and they're super cute, and we drew faces on them. This year I am ready for Halloween. I am ready to read scary books, and I am ready to watch scary movies actually, which I have never seen a horror movie because I know that I will be absolutely terrified of them, but you know what? I figured I would give it the old college try this year. I have a TBR this month that's kind of full of like spooky books, and you guys will hear about all of that throughout the month as I do my review videos, but for this week I kind of wanted to start with something more tangentially spooky, which is that unpopular book opinions tag. I'm not sure if my unpopular opinions are actually unpopular, so if you could let me know in the comments, that would be fantastic. But without further ado, let's get started. The first question is a popular book or series that you don't like. And for this one, I'm gonna have to say Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. It really pains me to say that because I love Leigh Bardugo's writing. Obviously, you guys know that from how much I gush about her writing, but this book just really wasn't it for me. I was super excited to read her adult debut, which Ninth House is, but it just didn't really hit the spot for me. And I know that this book is kind of polarizing, like you either really love it or you don't. Like you hate our main character, Alex Stern, or you love her. And unfortunately, I think I fall on the side of not liking her so much. I'm probably still going to read the sequel because I really want to know what happens to Darlington, but I don't know that I'll buy it. It just wasn't my thing. Question 2 is a book or series that many people don't like but you love. For this one, I am going with The Unearthed Duology by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. I did review videos on both of these books, and each video got probably around 7 or 8 views, which tells me that a lot of people are not super into these books, but I don't know, I really liked them. I know that there were some execution errors with like the plot and characterization and keeping things consistent and all of that, but overall it was a really interesting concept and a really good message. I would still recommend reading them, I really liked them. Third question is a love triangle where the main character ends up with the person that you didn't want them to end up with, or an OTP that you don't like. Okay, this is not a love triangle, but definitely for this one, I'm gonna go with Mr. Rochester and Jane from Jane Eyre. I really liked Jane Eyre. I was like vibing with Jane's personality and her complete badassery throughout the entire book. However, toward the end, she heard that weird calling from Mr. Rochester, and then she goes to see him and she just like takes him back. And of course, we all know that famous line, "Reader, I married him." But I have a question, Jane, why? It seriously just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, Mr. Rochester is so crusty. He kept his wife in the attic because he refused to deal with his own issues and help her out maybe a little bit. He threatened physical violence on Jane for not expressing her feelings for him when he wanted her to. He always talked to her in an extremely rude way. He dressed up as a fortune teller to get her to spill her secrets to him because he knew that she wouldn't just tell them to him on her own. He was just manipulative and abusive. I really hate Mr. Rochester. I think that Jane had a fantastic life with her cousins in the countryside and she was happy, and I think she should have stayed that way. I don't know. Question number 4 is a popular genre that you hardly reach for. For this one, I'm gonna go with contemporary, like in general, whether it's YA or adult. I feel like for me, reading is obviously a form of escapism from the real world and your real problems for just a little bit. And for me, reading about somebody in my same universe is not escapism in my personal opinion. I would much rather read about somebody in a crazy fantasy world where basically nothing is familiar. I just like to learn about new worlds and learn about new kinds of characters and all that stuff, and I just feel like it's kind of limited in contemporary what you can do with that. Now, if you were to throw some magic or deities or monsters into that contemporary realm, I would 100% be down for that. That brings us to like magical realism and urban fantasy and all of that stuff, which I have expressed my love for already, so I don't think I need to go into that too much right now. Question 5 is a popular or beloved character that you don't like. I can already feel people coming for me for this. I'm gonna say Draco Malfoy. Now, before you get your panties in a twist, let me explain myself. Fanon Draco, like what the fandom has created about Draco, like I'm on Draco Talk right now on TikTok, and I am really into it. I enjoy it. Fanon Draco, incredible, fantastic. However, Canon Draco, absolutely not. He's nasty. Like, I get that he's misunderstood and broken and that he's been kind of brainwashed by his family and that he sort of gets a redemption arc at the end. So like, I get it, I understand, but that doesn't mean I have to like him. He's that quintessential, like bratty, rich private school kid who's mean to everybody and everyone knows it but is afraid to call him out on it because they're afraid of what will happen when his father hears about this. You know what I mean? But like I said before, the way that the fandom has kind of taken Draco's character and shifted it into something more redemptive and something more well-rounded is something that I really enjoy. Question number 6, an author that you can't seem to get into. Definitely James Dashner. I remember reading the Maze Runner series when I was in middle school, and I think I only read them because everyone else was reading them because I don't remember super liking them. And then I gave James Dashner another try with The Eye of Mines, and then I never even finished that book. I think it's something about his writing style that I just don't like. I can't really put my finger on it, but I just have never really been into his books. Question 7, a popular book trope you're tired of seeing. Please, 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 we must stop with the fake dating. It's just not a vibe. It's sort of weird and it makes me uncomfortable. And I think that's sort of why I never really got into the To All the Boys I Loved Before books, even though I do have it on my bookshelf. It's right here, so I do have it, but I just never really got into those books. I watched the first movie and I thought it was cute, but the book I just didn't really vibe with. I think it's something about the medium in which that kind of story is told. Like in a movie, you can do a lot more because obviously it's so visual, and I feel like the fake dating trope is more of a visual trope than like a descriptive trope, which is why it doesn't super work in fiction, at least in my personal opinion. Question 8 is a popular book or series that you have no interest in reading. All right, I have a couple. I don't think I'm ever gonna read the Red Queen series by Victoria Aveyard, or the Folk of the Air series by Holly Black, or like anything from the Shadowhunters universe by Cassandra Clare. This definitely isn't like a superiority complex thing where I'm like, oh, I'm too good to read these books, I'm too sophisticated or whatever, because that's absolutely not what it is. And I definitely don't look down on the people who do read those books because I can see the appeal and I can see why people enjoy them. I just feel like for me, it wouldn't be that kind of an experience. For the first two I mentioned, so Red Queen and Folk of the Air, I just feel like they've been really hyped up on everything that I've seen, like on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and all of that stuff, that I just feel like if I were to read them, they wouldn't live up to the hype and then I would just be disappointed. As far as Shadowhunters goes, I did read a couple from the Mortal Instruments series in middle school, and like I liked them, but not enough to keep going. And now that there are so many Shadowhunter universe books, like I can't even think of how many there are. Like they're still coming out, which I think is crazy. They're like dozens or something. First of all, props to Cassandra Clare for continuing to write in that universe for so long and like having new ideas. That's terrifying. How do you do that? But also, I just think that's an extremely daunting task to dive into that at this stage and how many are published. I just don't think I'm up to that challenge. And our last question, question 9, a book to movie adaptation where the movie was better. Definitely The Princess Bride. I read the book a while ago and it was just really long and sort of like not engaging, and the movie was 1,000 times better. The Princess Bride movie is so fantastic. It's definitely on the list of probably my top 5 favorite movies. I just think it's a classic. I used to watch it all the time with my family when I was little, so it kind of holds that nostalgic value for me. I don't regret reading the book, like, at all. I think it was a cool experience, and now I can say that I've read the book, but it just wasn't that great, and the movie was 100% better. And with that, the unpopular book opinions tag is finished. So for once in my life, there's a short video going up on my channel. I actually had a lot of fun scripting this and filming this. I had never really thought about my unpopular opinions before, but now that I am thinking about them, I am interested to hear what you guys think, like I said at the beginning of the video. So let me know down in the comments what you think about these questions. I would love to hear your opinions. And that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you so choose, and I will see you next time. Happy reading!